Welcome to the Story of Cooking. I'm Sarah Nicholas. This season we're filming in the heart of the Shenandoah Valley. I'm here at the Natural Bridge in Natural Bridge, Virginia. And now we're in the kitchen. Godfrey, what you got cooking? To the berry knocker.
Berry knocker.
Welcome to the Story of Cooking. I'm Sarah Nicholas and I'm here today with my friend Aimee Watkins and we're gonna do some canning. But first, Aimee, since I don't get to hang out with you very often, let's drink some champagne while we can.
I think that's the best idea yet.
All right. So Aimee, where are you from?
I'm from Missouri.
Missouri, but you live in Virginia now.
I do.
So a Midwest girl, and you do a lot of canning?
I do some. I've learned that it's fun to do, and I like to know where my food comes from.
Absolutely. I'm really nervous about this.
You can do it.
Let's see.
Yes.
Oh, that was really good. Okay.
Stop.
All right. We got to get things started right, so let me pour you a glass. It was really bad. It's okay. I'll drink that one. All right. Should make some
Lovely. Thank
good
you.
recipes with this going on not in the morning. Okay. All right. So the first, cheers.
Cheers to you.
So nice to see you. That makes everything better. Okay. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make a tomato pudding. Have you ever made a tomato pudding before?
I've never made a tomato pudding.
Very southern, Virginia southern thing to do. So this recipe actually came from Bear Trap Farm, which is out in Mount Solon, Virginia. You're probably familiar with Mount Solon. That is where my family is from. And Bear Trap was a farm where people would come, mostly from DC, just to get away and be out in the country. And back then, this was real country, especially for DC people. And the lady that operated the farm was named Lillian Smith, aka Smitty, and she was friends with my great-grandmother. So my great-grandmother got this recipe from her because she used to cook this for whoever came from DC to stay. So simple. And it's a great thing to do with garden leftovers because I know I don't have a garden anymore because I live in New York City, but when I lived in Virginia, I always had a bajillion overload of tomatoes at the end of the season. It's probably the same for you.
Absolutely.
And you keep trying to give them away to people, and eventually they don't even open the door because they're like, I can't have any more tomatoes. All right, so the first thing we did last night, we dried out bread, and you can use any bread you want. We're keeping it simple. We just have regular sandwich bread. But dry it out so it's ready to absorb all this butter we're about to add. So I want you to just tear it up, put it in this casserole dish, and then drown it in
I can handle that.
1 stick of melted butter.
Definitely.
And while she's doing that, I'm going to prepare the other two ingredients. It's a very simple dish. So, what's your favorite thing to can? Actually, let me ask this in a different way. When I first heard about Aimee, before I met Aimee, she's friends with my brother. Now she's friends with me. She was picking apples and making apple butter. So that's kind of, my introduction to Aimee actually involved preserving food. So that's why I invited her today to do this episode specifically, and I just like hanging out with you.
Fun.
So tell me about the apple butter.
The apple butter was a chore. We picked, I don't know how many bushels of apples. We got a 25-gallon copper cauldron, and we just did it up. We probably made 100 quarts of apple butter. A lot more than I thought we could make, but it turned out wonderful. Gave it away as Christmas presents to the bus drivers and the teachers. So it was fun.
All right, so it's really this simple. Isn't this great? We are just bringing this up to a simmer. So that's it for the bread. You can pour the butter, and if you even want to, you can get in there and massage it in with your
lovely.
hands.
I can definitely do that.
Get a little messy. And once you're done with that, I think my tomato concoction over here is ready to go. This is a really fast recipe as well, and it's good to feed a bunch of people. This is actually, we quartered the recipe. The recipe we got from Bear Trap Farm was 4 times this size, so they were feeding a lot of people there. So, all right. That looks pretty good. That'll work. All right, this could be dangerous. Stand back. gonna dump it all over the bread. And it's like a bread pudding with tomatoes. Actually, that's exactly what it is. It's a bread pudding with tomatoes. Tomato pudding. See, told you, stand back. All right, so you just push the bread down into the tomatoes, and we're gonna pop it in a 350-degree oven, and it usually takes about half an hour. All you're really waiting for is for it kind of to soak up all the juices and get a little crusty on top. That's it. All right, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna throw it in the oven, and then we're gonna really get into some canning. You ready?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do it.
Always ready.
All right, Aimee, we have everything ready to start our tomato relish, and this is a little more complicated than the tomato pudding.
Okay.
But it's something you can do, again, with your garden leftovers, because you always, again, have lots of tomatoes, and we have peppers, we have onions, we have celery, we have apples, which you may or might not have an apple tree. You do, so you can use this recipe.
Okay.
All right, talk about what you're gonna do to the tomatoes. While you do that, I'm gonna start chopping these vegetables because we have a lot to do.
Okay, so I'm gonna core the tomatoes, put them in some hot water here for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna take them through the squeeze-o strainer right here. And it's gonna take the peeling off and strain them for us so we can make the relish.
Okay. Is the water boiling
So
yet?
it's almost there. I'm gonna start coring here.
Now we're gonna do it the easy way, right? So same thing she's doing. You just core it like so, around the edges, just around the core, like that. Just throw that away. So Aimee,
Yes.
while we're chopping, we have time to talk about Little Cheerful.
Yes, the Little Cheerful.
Tell us about the Little Cheerful.
The Little Cheerful is a 1966 Airstream Safari that I got a year ago, and since I've had her, I've been getting her and getting her ready to put a kitchen inside so I can drive around and sell yummy, cheerful food.
What would some of these yummy, cheerful food include?
Probably depends on where I'm going to go, but you know, side of the road, I might have really good coffee and some banana pudding. Or I might go to a festival and sell a bunch of macaroni and cheese. So I'm going to be kind of set up to just decide where I'm going to go and make whatever I want to make.
Gotcha. That's really cool.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So we are going to use about 2 cups of apples and 2 cups of tomatoes, so you might be close. I'm almost there. So I actually want to ask you about Woodstock and your farm, right?
Into the Woodstock.
Into the Woodstock.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, we started a little gathering of like-minded people last June, and we invite friends out, and we have a weekend of good music and good conversation and definitely good food.
And
We camp, and
Yeah.
the Little Cheerful hopefully will be done next year, so we'll have her out in the pasture and little bistro tables set all around and
it's
feed everybody from there.
It's inspired by Woodstock, so you got the whole hula hoop and
Yeah, well, we hang a big drop cloth from trees out in the woods, and we show concert DVDs.
that is so cool.
Yeah, it's
I've
fun.
never been to it, so I'm going to go this year.
I'd love to have you.
All right, so you about ready to boil?
I'm gonna put these in the water.
And I'm just cutting a pepper over here. Nothing that interesting. Keep going. So why are you boiling them? Tell us why you're doing
Well, we're
that.
gonna take the skins off, and we're gonna run it through the strainer. So,
Okay.
it's kind of an easy way to get that done.
This is probably a little too chunky, but we're gonna roll with it today. So just keep it kind of uniform.
Okay.
Celery, you need a cup of celery, a cup of onion. Chop another one. And the other kind of quirky thing about this recipe is when you have garden tomatoes, they're not always really red when you make this. After everything's incorporated together, it kind of has this yucky, muted kind of color. So my great-grandmother has a trick, and that is to add red food coloring. But otherwise, it doesn't look pretty. And it is tasteless, so I think it's acceptable. People do that to pepper hash and add green food coloring, so we might do that later as well. So Aimee, how do those tomatoes look? Almost there?
They look lovely. They're
Okay.
almost there.
They don't take very long. So show us how to use this thing. It kind of
Okay.
looks like a meat grinder.
Well, it is kind
Works
of
the same
like
way
a,
almost.
Just put these tomatoes right in here.
So what other things do you do with this?
Apples, tomatoes.
Any
That's about it so far.
Anything with a peel that you need to peel? Gotcha. Just plunge the top of it to force it all down there. We're gonna look at this. We might need more tomatoes. I don't know. We'll see what it looks like at the end.
It's really.
Have you ever made ketchup?
I have not made ketchup.
That would be a really good thing to do with tomatoes too. I have an old-fashioned recipe for ketchup if you wanna borrow a recipe. This is about 2 cups. It's close enough. It's good enough for today. How do you clean all that off? Just scrape it off. Okay. All right, just get all the tomato out that you can. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna actually add all of this to one pot. All you do is literally add every ingredient and simmer it, and it takes about 8 hours. So my mom was telling me this morning that she and her friend, Teresa, her childhood friend, would get together and do this once they grew up and had their own gardens, of course. And they had 8 hours, so they appropriately just sat around, ate snacks, and drank wine all day for 8 hours. Kind of like what we're doing. I don't know if I could drink champagne for 8 hours.
I know.
Though. That might be a recipe
That might be a little too crazy.
All right, so yeah, just dump that water out, and we can just use the same pot that we were using. Make it efficient. Put that back. Just put it back on the heat.
Okay.
So we're gonna add our wet ingredients, which are vinegar.
Okay.
Just white distilled vinegar. You could use probably apple cider would work as well. Let's add the tomatoes next. Get all the really juicy stuff in there first.
Let me just get all this good stuff out.
I don't miss any of that.
Okay.
Just pour that in there.
Alrighty.
And now we're gonna add the rest of our vegetables. I'm gonna carefully plop this down over your strainer. Okay, vegetables including the celery, the onions, the peppers, and then we have an apple. And a green apple I think works best because depending on how sweet your tomatoes are, you get kind of sweet, and we're gonna add in a minute a bunch of sugar. So I think the crispness of like that nice green, like Granny Smith apple works really well for my taste. All right, one more.
Nice shot.
Score. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna add is the sugar. Now, this is kind of a mystery to me. I haven't quite perfected it, but I think we're gonna go with about a little over 2 cups of sugar. The recipe that my great-grandmother has says 1 to 5 cups of sugar.
Oh, nice.
So
that's good.
we're gonna meet somewhere in the middle. So just pour that in there.
Alrighty.
And then the last thing we're gonna do is make what is called a bouquet garni in French with all our spices. So you just take a cheesecloth, about yay big. Let's double it up. Take a cheesecloth and we're gonna take all of our spices. We have 3 cinnamon sticks. Okay, so to that we're gonna add salt, which is really bizarre to me that you add salt to the bouquet garni, but I'm not gonna argue with my grandmother. I'm just gonna do it because it's just gonna dissolve and go into the pot, but whatever. Okay, old-fashioned ways. Then we're gonna add 8 cloves, just whole cloves. Oh, I love the smell of cloves. Even there's like 8 cloves, you can just, they're so powerful. And 2 tablespoons of dried mustard. And you're just going to get some twine to tie the bouquet off with. And just make a little pouch.
I'll tie you up.
Tie it off. And we want it to hang down in the water because it's flavoring the tomato relish. So maybe we'll fashion some sort of handle or something. Let's see if it works. Okay. Let's do it this way. Should have thought this through a little more before I started.
Okay.
All right.
It'll work fine.
Okay. There we go. Now we have a little handle so we can take it, find it easily. Wrap it around there. What the heck? That works, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be brought up to a boil and then reduced down to a simmer. And again, it takes about 8 hours to get it to where you want to get it. And we'll kind of check on it right when it's close. Maybe add a little red food coloring to make it pretty. And that's it.
Sounds great.
Simple as that. So the next thing we're going to do while that's cooking is we're going to start our pepper hash. Okay, Amy, so we have everything ready to make our pepper hash.
Okay.
It's kind of similar to what we did before. We're going to just use 2 ingredients or 2 vegetables. We're going to use peppers.
Okay.
And you can use any peppers that you have. You can even use hot peppers if you want. But we had leftover green and red peppers, so that's what we're going to do. So we just need a rough chop because we're going to throw it in the food processor. So just get the core out and just kind of chop it up a little bit. So I actually have a really funny hot red pepper story. I think it's funny. Hopefully you think it's funny. We grew a bunch of hot red peppers in our garden one year, and I had a bunch of leftovers, and I didn't know what to do with them, so I decided that I was going to be very domesticated and make homemade Christmas presents for everyone and make red pepper jelly. I didn't really think it through, and I cut all the peppers, seeded them with my bare hands, and then before I started, making the jelly with the pectin and the water and everything, I went to the sink to wash my hands. I washed them under hot water, which opened my pores, and then I'm like, oh, that really burns, because the seeds of the peppers.
Right.
And then I ran cold water to stop the burning, which sealed my pores. So folks, don't ever not use gloves. Don't ever touch your eyeballs or anything else if you have pepper on your
Definitely
hands.
eyeballs.
Yeah.
No.
All right, so we're just chopping and throwing it in the food processor. The original recipe actually called for this to be ground through a meat grinder, but food processor is probably a more common thing that you guys have in your household, so we are going to do it that way. And I need to mention that we are collecting all of the scraps from all these vegetables because you can do something with this. You can use it for your compost. That's what you do at home, right?
I do. Our chickens love it.
Don't throw away anything. There's a purpose for most anything in the kitchen. All right. Our tomato relish is popping over there. Okay. Just keep going. It's kind of a tedious, long process. I'm going to blend some of it. What did you say about your compost and your chickens earlier?
We just take our compost out for our chickens.
Which is something you can do as well. We're just gonna, as we process, we're gonna just dump this into a bowl. Just keep on going, Amy, as fast as you can.
All right.
Spatula. And once we get all of this in the bowl, we are going to pour boiling water over it and let it sit in the boiling water for 15 minutes. So just throw it in there, you're fine. Okay. Oh. Me and modern tools. There we go.
There you go.
Throw it in there. All the onions and the peppers. And this is a recipe too that you can again make for larger, smaller, whatever you have left over in your garden. And it's probably something you can do with other types of vegetables as well, not just pepper and onions. So you have chickens on your farm?
We do.
What other animals do you have?
Well, we had a potbelly pig. I don't have her anymore. She likes to go visit the neighbors.
She likes to go visit the neighbors?
She'd walk through the woods.
They didn't like that
Hang
very
out
much?
with, they like to root. I used to refer to it as aerate the yard.
Yeah. Not everyone would enjoy that. Why can't I get this stinking pepper to grind? I'm gonna move it aside. Okay, keep going. And we actually, I should say, this recipe was actually triple the amount of vegetables we're using. We're gonna can this in the end or tell you how to can it. And the important thing to know about this is it increases its shelf life. And usually, up to 5 years, sometimes even more, so. My food processor's dying on me, I think.
Been busy this week.
Just can't get water close to a boil?
It's looking pretty good.
Maybe I'll pulse. Make them jump.
Really good. It helps a lot.
Okay, and you know what? If you have chunks, probably not that big a chunk, so put that in the compost. Okay, so it's okay if you have some chunks in there. Chunky is okay. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take the boiling water, we're gonna pour it over this mixture, the onions and peppers, and let that sit for 15 minutes. Okay, so then we're gonna, again, pour the water, strain it, and then we're gonna add weak vinegar. That's what the recipe calls for. I'm just using distilled vinegar. I'm not really sure what weak vinegar means. 3 tablespoons of salt and 1 to 5 cups of sugar. Again, kind of vague, so I guess it depends on how sweet you like it. We're gonna get all that done. We're gonna check on our tomato pudding. It smells about done. And then when we come back, we're gonna taste the fruits of our labor and talk a little bit about how to can.
Sounds great.
So Aimee, we have our garden bounty feast ready. Looks good, right?
Absolutely.
So since the vegetables take about 8 hours to cook, we already had some that my mother prepared, because she does it every year. So we're gonna eat that, and while that's cooking for 8 hours, we're gonna enjoy some champagne and
sounds great.
Eat some hot dogs and tomato pudding. So we have our tomato relish, and I like to serve it over cream cheese, so we have that here with our crackers. We're gonna put some of that pepper hash on a hot dog.
Okay.
And we have our tomato pudding.
All right.
So I'm gonna go ahead and plate everything up.
Okay.
And can you tell everyone a little bit about the canning process?
A little bit about canning process. Well, nowadays with the invention of the dishwasher, it helps a lot. You know, put your mason jars in there with the lids and run a cycle. The steam helps sanitize. Then whenever you pull them out of the dishwasher, they're ready to go. The hot liquid, whatever you're canning, goes right in, and it seals itself after it starts to cool.
Yeah, that is definitely the easiest way to do it. We have some old-fashioned tools back here. What is that back behind us?
Well, this big thing right here is my granny's pressure cooker. Great granny's pressure cooker that she used a long time ago when she would can.
This is like the great granny episode.
Absolutely.
All the recipes.
Grannies are good.
Grannies are the best. It's a good thing to have at a party. It makes a pretty presentation, but you can also use it as a topper for fish, or chicken, or whatever you want. It's really delicious. And you can really taste the cinnamon. It's kind of a good holiday item too. And then the pepper hash, we're using it as a relish. You can use it the same way, so you can put it in potato salad or deviled eggs if you want to be really southern. So let's take a bite.
Okay.
I'm going to start with the tomato relish, which I already know that I love, so.
I'll start with the pudding here.
Tastes great to me. You can really taste the cinnamon again. You can taste those spices for sure. Sweeter than you thought, right?
This is lovely. Absolutely.
It is dessert-like.
Definitely.
Wash it down with champagne. Can't be that bad. And our pepper hash. It definitely tastes like relish, so it makes sense. Really sweet. This recipe my mom made, she probably put more sugar than I did. So you can see how that makes a difference. Mine's gonna be a little more savory when it comes out. All right, Aimee. So while the rest of this is cooking, let's just keep having fun and enjoying the food.
Great plan.
Drinking our champagne. Thanks for coming, Aimee.
Thanks for having me.
The Little Cheerful, she's gonna give me a business card. I'm gonna post all the information about the Little Cheerful on my website. So check her out.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me, Aimee, on the Story of Cooking. This has been Sarah Nicholas. Until next time, keep the story going.